All right, we're live, juice heads, and you're not seeing things. This is not rubbing the rhubarb. This is episode 10 of the NFL Boycott Club with a very special guest and a treat. We got Big Tone. What's going on, man? How you doing?
How you doing? Good to be here, man.
All right.
We talked about this for months.
Yeah, and finally able to get it going.
I know.
And special. Go ahead.
We had to slide into the midday. Finally, we couldn't wait.
There is, some off-season breaking news. So apparently now it's a 17-game schedule. I know for years they talked about making it like a lesser game schedule because of all the concussion protocols and all that stuff. So I'm assuming they're going to take away a preseason game. Did you?
I would think. I haven't heard definitively yet if they're going to do it or not do it. But I mean, I love that we've heard over and over again, about player safety. But right. we're just going to continue to care about the players. So we don't really, but we'll add more games. So
money talks.
Not to the players, I'm sure. So.
All right. Well, if we want to go into more detail, I have a tab up of all the extra games we're getting. So it looks like, and can you see that on your end?
Yeah, I got it. Yep.
All right, cool. Yeah. So what are they going to do here? They voted today. Okay. Taking place virtually due to COVID-19. That's great.
I just need someone to explain to me how this helps. Outside of me. Like, is it? I want one actual journalist, like not you and me, like one journalist to go, hey, Roger, do we still care about the players? I mean, we've changed the entire game to make it safer, but let's add more games for these guys who are barely making it through 16 anyway. Okay,
so it looks like they're pushing the Super Bowl back a week. The regular season is going to start the same week, and it looks like what they're doing. You know how in the NFC, because we're NFC guys,
right?
Our teams play like the team that matches their standing in their division.
Yeah.
It looks like now they're going to do that with a random AFC, like a rotating AFC team as well.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess that's a fair way of doing it. But
yes.
But yeah, just like you're saying, but yeah, so much for player safety.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, like, I don't know. We're getting beat over the head. We've changed the game that we've watched fundamentally our entire lives. I mean, they've single-handedly, I don't know, like changed outcomes for some of these ridiculous calls. I mean, everyone who pays attention to the NFL can point to countless examples of how this has changed football games. But we're just going to add more games for these guys to put their bodies on the line. To me, it's like it's so hypocritical to even think about doing it.
Well, again, we're talking about the NFL here, so.
Right. The integrity went out the window a long time ago.
So your team looks like they're taking a trip to Cincy.
Good.
It looks like all the away teams are NFC, so they really simplified it. So I guess next year all the home teams will be NFC.
All right. I mean, that will certainly allow, if you're into that sort of thing, the schedule, and I mean, you'll see your team play, a team they potentially might not have otherwise. But I mean, you kind of play these divisions on a rotating schedule anyway. So to me, it's like, okay.
I really want to know how this deal was made in midst of all this controversy. I mean, and we came here to talk about trades, by the way. This news just broke as we were coming on the air, so we couldn't not talk about it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they're going to take away preseason games from these guys, which is
for sure.
I mean, you're really not hurting any of the star players in that regard. I mean, they play the third preseason game really anyway.
That's it. Yeah, that's like the dress rehearsal game.
So
and even that game, what did they play? A series into the second half, maybe.
Yeah, you're only really hurting the guys who are long shots to make the team. That's it. I mean, those are the guys who get the biggest look in the preseason. It's not it's not your superstars. It's not your guys that are penciled in to start.
It's true.
So, I mean, it just leaves more guesswork on the back half of the roster, which to me, I don't know if that helps you. Of course, it doesn't help the team. It doesn't help team building. It can only hurt you.
Absolutely fucking not.
Unless they're going to expand the rosters.
What's that?
Unless they're going to expand the rosters. I haven't read that anywhere.
Yeah, this didn't say anything about that. Let's throw it back up on the screen here.
I didn't see it.
The bottom part of the page talks about the scheduling. The top part talks about that it just got done today in a meeting. But yeah, I mean, what is it? A 53-man roster as of right now?
I think it's 53. I think they changed it last year just because of some of the COVID.
Right, because of COVID. Yeah.
And typically it's like 46 on game day and 53.
Yeah. I think they made extra like COVID slots, like like there's the way there's IR. I think they did like some sort of COVID reserve thingamajig.
Yeah, don't get me started on that either. You had who was it? Oh, I forget which team it was that started a game with the Broncos. They started like their fourth string receiver at quarterback.
Right. Yeah. Instead of just pushing the game or whatever.
But it's so funny how they just arbitrarily chose which games mattered. The 49ers played the Packers on like Monday night with nobody. They had nobody. Nobody. They wasn't even. They should have just canceled the game or forfeited. I mean, because if they weren't going to move it, the 49ers stood no chance.
Right. It's not like they were afraid to move games. I mean, look at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh probably got affected more than any other team, and none of their players even had COVID.
Right. Yeah. Their games got moved around. I mean, everyone's fantasy got thrown into hysterics, but I don't know. I mean, it's the inconsistency there. I mean, I know they're trying to handle something that's like constantly moving, but like the NFL's inconsistency is alarming in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And just wait to see how they handle this Deshaun Watson thing. Just wait.
I mean,
I can't wait to see what they do.
Yeah, it's one of those things, that situation where it's almost like the Me Too thing where there's too many people that are you sure it's not are you sure there's no legitimacy here? Because
that's a lot.
I mean, he's got a good defense attorney because he's really making this sound like a big joke.
He's gonna need one. 20 of them aren't wrong. I don't know. That's a big conspiracy if it's 20. That's a lot.
That's a lot of women, man. I mean, I don't know if there's any evidence. I don't know if there's any blue dress or smoking gun or whatever you want to call it. But
one or two, you can kind of be like, 20. Someone's got to take a real close look at that.
And that's all in the Houston area too. So, I mean, it's all within like how big is? I mean, Houston, I guess, is the fourth biggest city in the country.
Okay,
but our area still dwarfs it in terms of the population.
People per square mile, I'm sure.
So my point being is that I doubt a lot of these girls know each other.
Oh yeah, that's fair. I mean, and now it was all done through Instagram, no?
That I don't know. I'm not sure about those details.
I'm guessing there too. I don't know. I can't bring myself. I'm entirely too worried about who the 49ers are going to draft at 3 now to really care about this Deshaun Watson story.
So that was a crazy situation because you had Miami making pick trades with Philly.
Yeah.
And then they used that collateral to trade with San Fran, right? Something to that effect?
Yeah. And like now the rumor mill is like out, actually just absolutely insane. It's unbearable. I can't take it anymore. I might just shut off my notifications for the next few weeks. Well, I guess Miami was looking to move. I mean, because that third pick was hot for a quarterback. I mean, you got 3 or 4 or 5 guys, depending on who you talk to, that are really NFL teams are really excited about. So, I guess it sounded like the Eagles were involved, at least in conversations for the third pick, but they wanted Zach Wilson. So, depending on what you believe, if they could get Zach Wilson, they were going to try to make a move, but everything that you read or everyone that you talk to thinks the Jets are going to snap him up at 2, which leaves, 3 guys left to pick from at number 2. So I guess the 49ers are comfortable with one of those guys.
So I don't know. What do you see them doing?
I mean, what I see them doing and what I'd actually like them to do are probably 2 totally different things. I don't know. I mean, well, they gave up the number 12 pick, a third next year that they got for the hiring of Robert Saleh, and then they gave up the 2 future ones, 22 and 23. So to me, there's 3 guys, right? There's the 5 that you have to assume that Lawrence and Wilson are going 1 and 2, I would think.
Right.
The Jets surprise everybody, and the Jets do something silly, do something Jets-like, and move out for a tight end, or they tackle 2 overall, which is not likely. I think the ownership group, not the ownership, but the GM and the coach are pretty smart guys over there. So I think they'll stay put and take Wilson. But that just leaves Fields from Ohio State, Trey Lance from North Dakota State, and Mac Jones, who all these people in the know in the NFL insist on throwing him in there. I don't know. Everything you hear and everything you read from guys who know the Kyle Shanahan tree really well and his type and the Kirk Cousins type, and they think that Mac Jones is the guy. I just don't know how you sell to a fan base that you trade your entire future of first-round picks over the next 3 years.
That's a lot of picks.
For a guy that
first-round picks.
Well, it is, but you have to kind of understand where the 49ers are from a roster standpoint. They're set at left tackle. They're set at pass rusher. They have one of the two best middle linebackers in the league. I mean, they're set at key positions that you would draft high in the first round anyway. The defensive line's still very good. The offensive line is okay. I'd like to see it get a little bit better on the inside. But I'm actually okay with the draft capital that they gave up. They had to move from 12 to 3. So, but I just don't think you move up. I don't think you give up that kind of package unless you're going for someone that's special. And to me, Mac Jones isn't special. I think he probably has the highest floor. But, I mean, in 2021, you got to find someone that can move. I mean, all these quarterbacks that are making deep playoff runs, the Mahomeses, the Wilsons, the Lamar Jacksons, like these guys, I mean, they can all move. I mean, you can't be a standing target anymore in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, but people point to Tom Brady, but how many Tom Bradys are there? So, I mean, that's not the rule. That's the exception. So, to me, I'd like to see them go after a guy like Justin Fields. Personally, I just think of those three guys that are left, if you can't get your hands on Wilson from BYU, that's the dream scenario. I think he fits Kyle Shanahan's offense perfectly, but you have to assume he's off the board. To me, I'm taking Justin Fields just for a number of reasons. Like, I just think he has the most starting experience. He's been a top recruit for a long time. Him and Trevor Lawrence were 1-2 coming out. Their year in high school, he was a 5-star recruit. I mean, and he's done nothing since to make you think that he's anything less than that. So he's had 2 great years at Ohio State. He's an elite athlete. And people undervalue the fact that Kyle Shanahan is probably the best offensive mind in the league. So you put a guy with that level of talent and upside into that offense. I don't know. I mean, to me, I'm not looking for. I mean, they have a guy currently that's like the 20th best quarterback in the league. I don't want to get off of him and trade 2 first-round picks for a guy that's 13, 14 on his, like, what's his upside for Mac Jones? Is it Kirk Cousins? I don't know. You're not giving up 3 first-round picks for Kirk Cousins right now, are you? No. And I don't care what kind of salary cap relief it is. I mean, to me, you got to swing big. I mean, I'm looking for – I either want to hit big or bust big on these. Like, this is a big bet. If you're asking me, I want Justin Fields. If you can't get Zach Wilson, so
okay. No, I mean, it is a big bet. And the thing is, in the NFL, when you make these kind of gambles, it costs you seasons, right? It costs
jobs.
Costs you seasons, jobs, and as fans, we're not getting any fucking younger, right? I mean,
no. If this doesn't work out, at the very minimum, John Lynch is fired, and probably Kyle Shanahan.
Right.
I mean, because Shanahan's been there 4 years.
I think so.
Yeah, and he's had 3 losing seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he went to the Super Bowl in 19, but he's had 3 losing seasons. So if he doesn't get this right and start winning some games consistently, I mean, we could talk about how brilliant of a play caller he is all we want, but it's not translating to wins.
Yeah, that's the thing, and the division doesn't help either, because that's a super competitive division. I mean, that's got to be, if it's not the toughest division in the league, I don't know which one would be.
And everybody else got better.
Yeah.
Everybody else got better except maybe Seattle.
Yeah, I can see Seattle. Yeah, if anyone in that division, I could see Seattle maybe taking a step back.
Yeah, I mean, everybody got better at quarterback. I mean, you got to figure that, Stafford. Got Stafford. That's a huge upgrade for them. And even he can move. He's a little bit older, but he's not Stafford. He can move a little bit.
And he really hasn't been the same since Calvin Johnson retired up in Detroit. They were pretty good together. And like when my least favorite player in Giants history, OBJ, left the Giants, he was bitching and moaning he didn't have Eli anymore. Not that Eli's, I'm not going to brag about him for his regular season accomplishments, but I'll brag about what he's done in the playoffs. But that just goes to show you that that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, well, that's the typical I mean, well, Odell Beckham's no different than most Giant fans, right? I mean, everybody wants to complain about Eli Manning until he's gone.
Exactly.
That's what you guys will see. I mean, when's the last time the Giants? I mean, it's been so long, right? Since '04 they drafted him. I mean, before you were watching the Kent Graham and the Browns of the world.
Him and Rivers and Big Ben. That was the same draft.
Who was the fourth quarterback pick in that draft? That's a fun little fact. Who was that?
Oh wow, I couldn't even tell you.
J.P. Losman.
Wow, the name rings a bell now that you mention it, but I would never guess that.
He went to Buffalo.
There you go. That's why.
But yeah, I don't know. What about the Giants? I mean, we've blasted through the 49ers here. I mean, and this is a primarily Giants podcast. What do you want to talk about, Juice?
I mean, it's all NFL. I just threw up the background because got to support the team. But I mean, they have holes in a lot of places. I mean, they could use a pass rusher. Honestly, I think this year is it for Daniel Jones. I think if he doesn't get with it this year, I think they got to start looking at quarterbacks again. So
it's definitely put up. Yeah, I mean, what's it, year 3?
It's going to be year 3, and the guy's already been out to injury more than Eli ever was in his whole career because Eli never missed a start until McAdoo benched him for Geno Smith arbitrarily in like whatever year that was, 17 or 18.
Yeah, it's all starting to blend together.
Yeah. So no, but I mean, look, you appreciate people. I mean, dude. I argue with a lot of my fellow Giants fans about Eli all the time because I'm a big Eli advocate. But, I mean, they totally blotched the second half of his career after that second run they had.
Totally. I mean, if you fail to protect a guy who can't move for that long, I mean, I'm not sure what you want him to do. Yeah, I mean, look, he got old fast.
Right. He
got old in a hurry, but they didn't protect him. I mean, they didn't invest in the offensive line, really.
I mean, you know what you had with them? The offense relatively never had a problem moving the ball between the 20s, but that's the problem. You got to move the ball past the 20 and do some shit when you get into the red zone.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, they just weren't very good the second half of his career.
Yeah, and then the defense went to shit. Unlike the Giant, growing up, I obviously remember like the Giants always had like a solid defense. Even when they weren't the greatest team in the world, the defense was always like at the very worst decent.
Yeah, that was your calling card my entire childhood. I mean,
let's actually take a look at the draft order.
Let's do it. I think they're picking 12th, 11th. I'm sorry. So actually, the Giants are in a great spot. I mean, just kind of what they've done in the offseason, they've addressed a lot of needs. I mean, they got Kenny Galladay, Adoree Jackson.
They
made some moves to fill some holes. I mean, they're in a good spot. I mean, it's offensively they look set. If they want add another offensive lineman, they can. But from a skill position standpoint, I'm not crazy about Evan Ingram, but I mean, if he's your 4th or 5th option,
right? Well, or if he held on to the ball.
Well, please. I mean, he's a great athlete, but I don't know if that translates to enough big plays. I just don't think he's consistent.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, that position, you got to be able to block and catch, Yeah,
he drops too many balls in big spots for me.
Yeah, he'll make a play. He'll make a nice play every now and then, but not enough to make up for the amount of plays that in my opinion, that he blows.
Well, I think he just misses too many games. He just doesn't play.
Yeah. That's a big problem too.
I hate using cliches, but availability is the best.
No, for sure.
I think, I mean, they could certainly grab a pass rusher. They got a couple guys that fit their scheme. They're more of an outside linebacker, 3-4 type defense. The guys that could stand up on the outside. Guy Jalen Phillips out of Miami got some buzz this morning. Azeez Ojulari from Georgia. I mean, you definitely got guys at that spot you can pick. I mean, they could probably even trade down if they'd like to a little bit and get some more. Yeah, there's going to be an offensive lineman there if they want to, upgrade from, maybe Nate Solder at the right tackle spot, or kick one of these guys in the guard for a couple of years.
I'd be happy with that too, keeping Saquon upright, and getting him some holes. I mean, that'd be nice because the guy's got so much ability and so much talent, and he's already going into like his 4th or 5th year.
Yeah.
How long is he going to last the way this guy gets abused?
And you and I talked about this on the rhubarb, but I mean, are you going to pay him? I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, it's just like, what do you pay a guy like Saquon Barkley, who's obviously got like next planet athletic ability, but I just don't know if that's how you win football games.
Right.
Like, are you going to pay him the kind of money he might command on the open market? Which I think, if we've seen anything from this year's free agency, is it's not a ton.
Right.
And Chris Carson got $8 million.
Yeah, something like that. And as a Giants fan, I got to say the guy's just as talented at his position, I think, as Odell was. But as a Giants fan, I love the guy because he's got the personality. He's got like the Giants' personality. Is like the Giants and the Yankees in terms of like how they run their franchises traditionally, kind of, or to me, they're paralleled. The Giants not as much in the past decade or so because they've been a little letting the inmates run the asylum a little too much. But I think
whoa,
can't say that. We're gonna get.
What do you mean by that?
A GM really said that, right? And there was like this whole fucking blow up.
Yes, he did. That was.
I forgot who that was. Yeah,
I think it was Bob McNair. He was the owner of the Texans.
Yeah, he got.
He passed away, but I mean, he got a bunch of shit for that.
Yeah, I can't even say that in Texas these days.
No, I think. Well, what did he say? You can't because he said it wrong, right? He said,
yeah.
Inmates run the prison.
Right. Yeah. It's like when George Bush was like, "If it happens once, shame on me."
I think.
And if it happens again,
yeah, shame on someone else. But whatever. Yeah. Yeah, I can't say that. Yeah, I don't know. The draft's gonna be fun though. It's about a month away. It's usually my favorite time of year, but now I have to have anxiety about muffin top Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Have you seen these pictures?
No, I mean if you have them handy.
I don't, but when we're done, go Google Mac Jones.
I mean, I can see if I can pull it up right now.
He's got a dad bod. He's like 23 years old.
So he's already working on that Tom Brady physique.
Yeah, but even Tom Brady smartened up. Like he was not. I mean, he got on the TV.
Well, Tom Brady's got a crazy regimen.
He looks like he's 28. He's 45 years old. But Mac Jones has. I mean, look, I have a theory. Okay, like we're just regular guys, right? We try to stay in decent shape. We try to, stay fit. We try to look halfway decent at the pool or the beach or whatever it may be. You're a professional athlete, man. Your body's your business. How do you not put in the effort to try to look the part? Like, to me, if you come into a workout like that, and they showed a picture today at the Alabama Pro Day, he's out of shape. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Let me see.
Job, dude.
I might have found the picture. Let me see. Is this your boy?
Dude, I think that was him after the national championship game or something like that.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I don't care. At some point, what it looks like matters,
Well, when you're 23, right? I mean, I'm assuming he was redshirted, so this was his last year of eligibility. That's why he's 23.
Oh, I don't know how old he really is. I was just
okay.
But
right.
He could be younger than that. But I know he played the second half of last year when Tua got hurt, and he played this whole year. He had a great year. I'm not trying to take anything away. I mean, the guy could probably be a really good NFL quarterback. I mean, I just think if you're giving up what the Niners gave up, you got to have something else. You got to be elite. And I mean, look, I just don't, the way the NFL is trending, I could be totally wrong. And it just seems it's not the sexy pick. It may be the right one, but I don't know. I mean, if you're giving up what they gave up, I think you got to get somebody who has a chance to be special. I just don't know if that's him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you want some confidence in your pick, and for what they're giving up, you just want to get something out of it that you feel like is a fair deal for your team.
Well, here's I know we're circling back. We're going to Jen Psaki this one, but we're circling back. But like kind of what in 2017 they played it safe. You had Trubisky, you had Mahomes, you had Watson, and they're like, no, we're going to sign Kirk Cousins in free agency, so we're going to draft Solomon Thomas, who was like an in-between defensive lineman anyway. He was not an outside pass rusher they were looking for, but he was kind of small to play inside. So they played it safe because he took some classes at Stanford with John Lynch. He knew the person, he knew the character. Right. They tried to play it safe, and they never evaluated the quarterback position or properly evaluated the quarterback position. So I don't know what the plan is now. I mean, I think if you swing and miss that badly at those two guys, who I think we can agree are both in the top 5 at their position in the NFL, I don't know how you go back and you just keep repeating the same mistake. So to me, I mean, if you're going to do that, you've recognized, you kind of course corrected, you made a mistake. You see the guy with similar traits, and he has a chance to be that level of NFL player. I think you gotta go get the guy, kind of whatever it takes. If Justin Fields is that guy, then fine, go get him.
Now, where do you think Watson lands if he lands anywhere? Or maybe it might be a year.
Leavenworth?
Yeah.
Penitentiary? No, I don't know. Well, that's the thing. I don't think right now. I don't think he goes anywhere. I mean, he's got to stick around.
He's
you got to wait till this gets kind of sorted out.
Is he like Ray Rice, you think?
No, because he's a quarterback, and I think unless something comes out where he's like done something really, really. I mean, look, I don't know what your level of inappropriate is. Obviously, he's done something inappropriate where it's got to be investigated and dealt with accordingly. But he's a quarterback who's a top 5 NFL quarterback. He'll get another chance as long as he's not in jail for the rest of his life. But yeah, this stuff's got to shake out. I have no idea what the ins and outs, but it's not looking good.
Jeez, that sucks, man. Wasted time. Just hate to see it.
What annoys me is because, look, obviously the Niners are willing to give up that kind of draft capital to find a quarterback. I got to imagine they were in on Watson.
I'm sure.
I'm sure they would have given up a few more picks and maybe even a player to get him. So you go from this happening, him not being your quarterback. Now you have to trade into the top 3 to find kind of an unproven commodity that you think can do it.
It's a big gamble,
Yeah, and a gamble I'm fine with because I think Jimmy Garoppolo can only get you so far, which I'm actually okay with that. But then don't sell me on Mac Jones. Like, don't sell me on Kirk Cousins light. Like, we're a guy whose ceiling is Kirk Cousins. No.
Right.
No, I'm sorry. That's not going to cut it. The fan base is going full revolt. I know I'm speaking for most of the faithful out there when I say if they draft Mac Jones, it's going to be a complete meltdown on draft night and subsequent nights.
You are definitely the subject matter expert on the Niners. If I was the rep, you would be my pre-sales engineer.
Thanks, buddy.
For selling Niners tickets or whatever. Anything Niners related.
I'm the solutions architect for. So what else? What else is going on in the NFL world that we have to talk about in my first appearance on the Boycott Club?
Let's see. I mean, the dad bod thing really shocked me.
I have been on this for years. I think like if enough people want to stay in shape this badly, and you're a professional athlete and you can't handle it, like I used to give CC Sabathia shit for years for being overweight, but he's a baseball player. You can kind of get away with it.
Yeah, I mean he still performed at a relatively high level, all things considered, when you factor in age. And I guess he had some off the field issues as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess he had some personal stuff, but I mean, but you gotta ask yourself the question, like, how much long? And he pitched for a long time. CC was, he pitched for a long time. But you gotta ask yourself, like, I mean, does that extend your career? Does that improve performance? I mean, you're 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds overweight your whole career. That doesn't affect you negatively. To me, with the money these guys are getting paid, that's the bare minimum. And I'm not a professional athlete. That's no secret. Right. But, I mean, that's your business. I mean, I heard Thomas Jones say it. He was a running back, played in the NFL for a long time. Cardinals and the Bears, a few other teams. But he's like, my body's my business. That's it. That's my own. I got to keep my.
The Jets had him when the Jets had Rex Ryan, right?
Yeah. I think he played for the Jets for a little bit too. I don't know. I think did they have Tomlinson then too? I think
they did. Yeah. Well, they definitely had Tomlinson the first year that they made their run to the conference championship. And I don't know if they had him for both years.
I don't remember who else was there. I can't remember, but yeah, I don't know. I just feel like if that's how you show up, and I saw the video from his pro day today, he looks exactly the same. Like, to me, you're unprepared. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's the kind of work ethic I'm looking for.
Well, it's like us. How are we showing up on a job interview? Are we going to show up like this, or are we going to show up maybe a little differently?
That's like us showing up in sweatpants.
Appearances do make a difference.
Sure. I mean, maybe he's got a thyroid issue or something that we don't know about, but I mean, there's got to be.
It honestly,
your explanation is on evaluator.
It looks like baby fat that he just never shed off. That's what it to me that like it looks like if he just went on a simple diet, maybe watched his carbs a little bit and stepped up his cardio. I'm not saying he'd be shredded, but there'd be a better presentation.
But he's in Alabama's strength program. Have you watched any of those documentaries?
No.
Like a maniac. All those guys look like superheroes. They're all like so much so they beat those guys up so much that a lot of them don't hold up in the NFL.
The last Alabama documentary I watched was about Bear Bryant.
I just don't. Was it the Tom Berenger one? He played Bear Bryant?
He narrated it, right? Tom Berenger?
He actually played Bear Bryant, didn't he? I don't know. But, I mean, like that strength and conditioning program is legendary. How does he look like that still? How are you on that football team, go through that regimen, and still look that way?
Do you think maybe the quarterbacks are a little pampered compared to the rest of the roster? Maybe.
I'm sure they're not. Well, I don't know, man. I don't know how. If you're the quarterback, you're the leader of a team. Those are your guys. You're not going through it with them every day. I don't know. If I'm the captain of the football team, how do you not? I mean, I'm going bees to the wall with my guys. I'm blowing it out every day. I just don't know how you sell that any other way. Like you're either in the foxhole or you're not.
Yeah, and I don't know if I ever talked about this story on the Boycott Club, but when I was a junior in high school, our captain, we used to have to bring out pennies with us, and you just, you put them in your pants or whatever until you need them for like the look squad, like the whatever pretend team that the starters play.
Sure.
And the head coach wanted the captain, who was also the quarterback, to get his penny on, and this guy never brought it out, and he fucking knew it, right? So like the whole team had to do hit-its until he ran into the locker room, which was quite a distance from the practice field, and got back out to the practice field. So
I never liked it.
I guess that's not happening down in Alabama.
I don't know what's happening in Alabama, but every other one of those guys is in the best shape you're ever going to be in, except Mac Jones. Someone's got to explain that to me. I need like that's the first question I'm asking if I'm a general manager. I go, Mac, either stop wiping the sweat off your forehead with the bottom of your shirt, or get in better shape. Like you have to explain yourself. How do you show up to your pro day? You've had nothing to do for 4 months except get in shape. I'm sorry, I can't let it go. This is his job interview. How do you not looking like that?
And I'm sure the weather's a little bit better to be training outside and stuff than where we live or whatever.
You guys all go to special combine.
Right, you're right. Yeah, they're not even
Arizona, Florida, California. These guys are everywhere getting ready. That's the only thing they do between bowl season and the draft. That's it.
You're reminding me. There's a place near here in Montville that I think Tiki went there when he tried breaking back into the NFL, but he went there to train.
I know there's the Francos. I think a lot of guys train there. That's over here. Parisi, I think some guys go to.
We had my head coach for high school football actually booked Parisi for a day for us
it's
just
great.
to learn some basic plyometrics. Really,
it works. I mean, I did it for a while in high school. I mean, it's a great way to train. But yeah, I need that question answered. I don't know. I mean, I don't know who's going to ask it. It's not going to be me, but I'm hoping somebody does. It's like, Mac, explain yourself.
I mean, the other Alabama quarterback that comes to my mind that's semi-recent, A.J. McCarron, I think he's still in the league as a backup somewhere.
I think he's floating around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you ask anyone in Cincinnati, he still should be a starter.
Yeah.
Nobody got more love for having a absolutely on fire girlfriend at the time than AJ McCarron.
Right. I remember watching that. Yeah. Your boy on ABC. And his mom's not so bad either.
Oh, really? I don't remember what she looks like.
I think the mom was next to the girlfriend in the shot where Brent made his comment.
Brent didn't know what to do with himself. He was completely tongue-tied in the moment. He did everything but go, oof.
Yeah, so if you wanted to just take a quick look at the draft, I mean, the first thing that jumps out at me, obviously, number one, Jacksonville, we know what's happening there.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what lured Urban Meyer to go to the NFL?
It can't hurt. I mean, if you go in there. I mean, I think any one of these guys who takes, you get a team you're taking over a head coaching job and the team's picking high. That's attractive. I think you kind of like it's like almost like a clean slate. You're going to have the time. I mean, I keep coming back to the Niners, but when Shanahan and Lynch got on, they signed 6-year deals, so they had the time to build it the right way or what they thought was the right way. So yeah, definitely. I think Trevor Lawrence at number one. I don't even think it's worth kind of getting into some of the conspiracy theories with Justin Fields and the Ohio State connection for Urban Meyer. I think it's Trevor Lawrence. I think everyone can kind of move on. The Jets, I would take Zach Wilson. I mean, I know there's some rumors going around that they like Sam Darnold enough to give him another shot. But then why wouldn't you trade the pick?
Right. And to me, you give the quarterback 3 years, right? That's what I'm hearing is kind of the way things are. That's how teams go about their business now. Is that fair to say? Is that something you agree with?
I think in general, NFL teams aren't patient enough with some of these guys. But I mean, you see guys come right in and they can do it.
Right.
I mean, Kyler Murray and Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert and just those are just recently.
Right.
I mean, these guys come right in.
Just off the top of your head.
And they're ready to go. I mean, they're not waiting. I mean, they're coming in, they're hitting the ground running. I mean, Justin Herbert had quietly one of the greatest rookie seasons we've ever seen from anybody last year.
And not necessarily on a good team either.
No, I mean, he had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I mean, his two big weapons missed significant time. I mean, his number one running back was out half the year. I mean, that offensive line's not great. I mean, he did a lot with not a ton. And
I wouldn't take that division lightly. I mean, you got the got to handle playing the Chiefs twice a year. Right. The Raiders are. We tend on this show to call them the Jekyll and Hyde team, depending on which one shows up.
Yeah.
And then Denver is Denver at this point, you know. But I mean, that's still not an easy division. So you have to deal with those teams, and then just by nature of not being a great team to begin with, any schedule can be a hard schedule.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think at best they got to hope to split in their division, but yeah, the Niners we talked about, the Falcons. I mean, if they like one of these quarterbacks, you got to find somebody. Matt Ryan's, you got to figure his hourglass is almost up. No,
dude, he had his shot against New England, and his team just didn't understand that the game was 2 halves, not 1 half.
We just celebrated that day, 328, didn't
we? Actually, I didn't realize. It looks like Jacksonville has 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, they got the Rams pick in the Jalen Ramsey trade.
Okay.
So they have a chance. I mean, it's a decent pick too. They have 25. Yeah, I mean, the Jets have 2. Jags have 2. Who else? Don't the Dolphins have 2? Dolphins have 2. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams that are kind of mortgaging the future, but.
Oh yeah, they got 18 as well as 6. The Finns, yeah.
Yeah, and the Dolphins, that's such a solid move. I mean, the 3 they were going to have to reach for a playmaker, you know, a guy like Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts from Florida. But I mean, they're going to get one of those 2 guys fall in their lap at 6, and they picked up another first-round pick or another 2 first-round picks, I guess, because they traded. No, I'm sorry, and that's the first-round pick because they traded San Francisco. I forget it was theirs or San Francisco's last year to move back up to 6, but.
It was a complex trade, but it was like all they did was trade their trade equity.
Yeah.
Basically moved up and then a little back down, basically. But got a lot of stuff on the back end as well with like later round picks.
Yeah. So they basically got, you know, they just swapped picks with the Niners this year. They got the Niners 3rd they got in compensation for the minority hiring of Robert Saleh next year. And then they think they kept the 2023 first-round pick because they traded the 22 first-round pick to move up to 6. So they picked up an extra 3rd and an extra 1st just by moving back ultimately 3 spots.
Hey, I don't know who their GM is, but I got to say that's some pretty good GMing.
Is it Chris Greer? I think that's it. I think Greer. I can't remember his first name. I think it's Chris Greer.
Let's see.
Great job.
I'm like the young Jamie of this operation here. Yep, you're right, Chris Greer. Yep.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, I don't know. It should be an interesting, like, top half of the first round. I don't know if there's the depth in this draft from kind of some of the things I read. I mean, the offensive line depth is actually really good from what I see. The receiver depth is good, even the cornerback depth to a certain degree, but it's not like a real, exciting draft after like the middle of the second round. If you're just like a casual fan, or even like you're even into it, I mean, there's been years when I can legitimately get excited about mocking 2-3 rounds of guys all the way out. But this year, by like the middle of the second round, I'm like, I'm out. I'm like doing something. I'm going back to work.
Well, I mean, how many days do they spread the draft out now? Remember when we were kids, it was just 2 days?
Saturday, Sunday.
That was it. Yeah. What is it now? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or
Thursday,
Friday, Saturday?
So it's Thursday, first round Thursday, 2 and 3 Friday, and then 4 through 7 on Saturday.
Yeah. Saturday, I don't even watch anymore, and that used to be like the main day.
By Saturday, everybody's cooked, I think, because everyone's like, I got to go cut the grass, or I got to go do this, or you got to go. Everyone's doing something else, taking the kids somewhere. But you end up being on your phone all day anyway.
Right. Let's see. I mean, I don't really. Everything else seems like where it should be in terms of order.
Yeah, I mean, like local team wise, I mean, the Jets have a really nice chance, and they have an early pick in the second too. I mean, they got a chance to walk away with 3, players that can really help them turn this thing around. I mean, if you get the quarterback at 2, you could probably flip. I mean, I still think Donald has value. I don't know. I mean,
he's shown ability, no doubt about it. I think the problem is maybe the team he's on. It could be. I mean, he's been hurt a couple of times. Those things makes all the difference. I mean, getting drafted to not a great team doesn't do you any favors either.
Yeah.
Look at Mark Sanchez. I mean, who knows what he could have done on a different team. And I think he was the most tenured quarterback since Joe Namath for them.
Maybe. Yeah. I just think the Jets' worst fear at this point, I mean, maybe it is or it isn't, but I would be a little bit hesitant, not to say I wouldn't move off him for for Zach Wilson. I might. But I mean, what have you given him to help him succeed other than a failed head coach and no weapons?
Exactly.
You've given him no help on the offense. I mean, I don't know. He's just had bad luck. He's been hurt at weird times. He got mono last year.
Yeah.
I just don't think you've seen. I mean, he kind of has like that Alex Smith vibe to me. Like people are going to write him off like he sucks, but he's never really had a fair shake. I mean, like, what if he goes somewhere like Pittsburgh says, all right, we'll give you like a late 2, or and you trade him to Pittsburgh to take over for Roethlisberger.
That's interesting.
I mean, they're gonna. That's a great organization. They're gonna figure it out. He's got weapons. He's got a good offensive line. He's got a running game. I mean, they'll figure it out. I just think that's what the Jets have to be careful about. I mean, more than most teams in the top, like Garoppolo. You know what Garoppolo is at this point. Like most of these teams in the top 10, like you kind of know who they are and where you have to upgrade. But the Jets are kind of the one team where you're like, you're not 100% sold he stinks, or you're not 100% sure he's going to turn it around. But Mike, I think there's a decent chance he can kind of go either way.
So let's see. So I'm looking at number 10. So that would be my arch nemesis. Is Dak going to be ready week 1?
Yeah.
Because I mean that injury, I felt bad. I thought that was game set match when I watched that live.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was I mean, I think luckily there was no complications afterwards after the surgery and anything like that, so he'll be fine. Which I'm actually glad, because he's one of my favorite players to watch.
Yeah, I was surprised as to, I guess, the lack of severity of the injury, because I guess maybe it looked worse than it was.
For sure, that thing snapped like a toothpick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it was fine, but I mean, help me understand this. I mean, maybe we got to get a Cowboys fan on here one of these days. But why? What is with the vitriol toward their current quarterback? Like, why wouldn't you want Dak Prescott? Like, I understand the team's not doing well, but it's not because that guy's not putting up otherworldly numbers. I mean, I understand it's a different time in the NFL, but.
Well, hey, talk about another guy that came in the draft, 4th round, 5th round, and out the gates when Romo got hurt, he went in, stepped up, and, I mean, played really well.
He went into the playoffs as a rookie, made some big throws against Green Bay. I mean, to me, you show me someone that can go in there at that age and do that. I mean, he's going to really have to show me that he can't do it before I move off of him. And I think they did the right thing. I mean, I think he's one of the I personally think he's a top 5 quarterback. So, I would take that guy in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I agree. And this is coming from me.
Right.
But I could admit, I mean, dude, I had a lot of respect for Romo as a good quarterback.
Me too.
He could never win a big game, unfortunately. I guess some guys are just cursed like that. I mean, you look at the botch they had in Seattle when Parcells was still their coach, because they had Romo still holding the snap for extra points, because I guess that's typically the job of the backup quarterback.
Yeah.
And they still had him doing that after he was the starter. So
yeah, backup quarterback or the punter usually. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I mean, it's just crazy, some of the things you see over there. Hey, you want to talk about crazy endings in the playoffs? What about the 2002 season? So this would have been January 2003, Giants at Niners. I guess at the time it was Candlestick. How that game ended. That was nuts. It ended with offsetting penalties involving Shockey.
Yeah, I think.
And that's when you guys had Mooch as your coach.
I got in a fight with somebody about this. It might have been my brother, who swears that it's pass interference, but you can't. There's no pass interference on a special teams play. There's no. You can't. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. That's why, like, when these guys are blocking the gunner on punts, you don't just drop back to pass and throw it.
Right.
Because it'd be a pass interference every time. Like, I don't think there's pass interference on those type of scenarios. It's just not in the rule book. So, I mean, people are like, it's pass interference. Like, it isn't, though. It's in the rule book. But funny story about that game. So, Giants were up big in the first half. And I was watching the game at my parents' house.
And that was Jim Fossil. That was the Jim Fossil Giants with Kerry Collins.
Yeah. Yeah. They had a good team. And that was right after the Super Bowl year, right?
It was within 2 to 3 years of when Baltimore spanked them.
Yeah, 2 years after. But they were. Niners were down big, and I was like, I can't be in a house with like 8 Giant fans. I got to get out of here. So I get in my car and drive to my then girlfriend's, and by the time I got to her house, the Niners were back in the game. I turned the TV on at her house, and they were back in the game. I couldn't even call the house and start talking trash. I'm like, that's such a loser way to go about it, because I totally failed on the team. I couldn't sit and watch anymore, but that was one of the crazier ones. Yeah, I actually felt bad.
That was and then Mariucci had some funny quote after the game. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but he sort of acknowledged that the lack of rules in place for plays like that was kind of absurd, because I think someone asked him, well, what if that was your team that happened to, or something like that?
He'd be furious.
But, at the end of the day, dude, offsetting penalties are offsetting penalties, no matter which one is more flagrant or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. Giants fans got their comeback with the Kyle Williams game, so don't worry about it. It took, it took about 10 years, but they got it back.
Yeah, and they have a history of winning the NFC Championship in San Fran. So, I mean, I'll take that. As a Giants fan, I'd rather win the conference game.
And by history, you mean twice?
The what?
And by history, you mean twice?
Well, I mean, yeah.
That's like San Francisco has a history of beating Green Bay in the playoffs.
There you go. Home or away?
Doesn't matter. Anywhere. They own them.
They just own them.
Well, after the 90s, the Packers beat the crap out of them everywhere, but they've since had their number.
Good times.
For sure.
Well, it's nice that we have teams that made the playoffs. It's nice we have, between your team and my team, what are there, 9 rings, 10 rings?
Niners have 5.
Yeah, so 9 rings between, so we really don't – we complain about the present day, maybe the last decade or so, but, I mean, as fans of these franchises, we really don't have a lot to hang our heads about.
It's been 25 years for me.
Yeah.
They haven't won a title since I'm 10.
Dude, and, same Dallas. I mean, the last time they won a title was Super Bowl 30 back in 96 against Pittsburgh with your pal Neil O'Donnell starting for Pittsburgh out of Madison, New Jersey.
Hey, if you get there, you're an absolute rock star. I don't care what they say.
But who was going to take down Aikman and Smith and Irvin?
Who was or who did?
No, who was? I mean, I don't think anyone took them down in the Super Bowl.
No, they didn't lose in the Super Bowl.
And
I know the Niners beat him in the NFC Championship game in '94, but I think that was it.
And that's probably when they had their real coach, Jimmy Johnson, because that year when they played Pittsburgh, that was basically Barry Switzer coaching Jimmy Johnson's team.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But not to crap on Barry Switzer. He was a very good college coach at Oklahoma.
He was fine. If you listen to Aikman tell it, he destroyed the organization. But hey, he'll get his due because he won the Super Bowl. But
that's it.
Sometimes context matters.
And as a matter of fact, the last time your team won the Super Bowl, that was quite a blowout. I mean, that was a pretty boring game.
Yeah, they crushed San Diego.
Yeah. What was Phil Humphreys on San Diego?
Was it Stan Humphries?
Stan Humphries. Yeah, there you go. And
was it the Natron Means team?
Natron Means, and who else did they have? They had
Seau.
The linebacker. Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
Junior Seau, and I'm trying to think who else on the team. I can't remember.
I want to also say that was the year that the teams had the 75 patch.
Yeah.
On the uniform.
75th anniversary. That's right. Because that was when the Niners had like one of the. I think it might have been the only year they had like the numbers with the shadow that they wear now.
Yeah. Yeah.
The throwback. Yeah, that was the 94-95 season.
Good times.
It was. Good times indeed.
All right, man. Well,
one other title.
Unless there's anything else you got in the tank.
I got nothing, man. Pass on Mac. Take Justin Fields. That's what I got. With any luck, the 49er brass is listening, but I'm not hopeful.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll do a pre-draft show of some sort. Definitely, at the minimum, a post-draft show of some sort.
Yeah, if you want, we can get on for maybe a top 10 or something like that. So we get the Niners and Giants.
We could do it the night of the draft if you want. If you want to do like a live reaction, I'm cool with that. So we could do a show during the draft if you want, but I think you might want to watch it because you're into that.
I want to have a meltdown in private.
But the best part about upgrading the software a little bit for these podcasts is now we don't have to take up rhubarb time to drill down into football talk.
Yeah, this is good. We can do this anytime.
Yeah, and same thing with me and Donnie G. We're gonna do like a Batman show.
Okay.
And so we don't have to waste rhubarb time talking about Batman. So we'll keep the rhubarb a little more cohesive.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of drill down into subject matter expert stuff on these sub shows. So
I like it.
Good times. All right. So Big Tone, thanks for joining us today on the NFL Boycott Club off-season special.
Sure, and great to be with you. I appreciate you having me.
And remember, boycotters, stay strong out there. We'll watch so you don't have to.